any of you who know me will probably know, most of you know me pretty well, I hate capital gains taxes. I just don't like them. So the reason I don't like them is that in political terms, I don't think they work. And so this is the story. If you're prepared to do with a capital gains tax what we did with GST, put it on virtually absolutely everything with no exceptions, they work well. Because in theory, if you earn $100,000 from going out there and having a job and you pay tax on it, well, fair enough. If you earn $100,000 from buying a property, well, probably should pay tax on that, fair enough. But this is where the problem comes along. And that is that no politician has the guts to do that, because they go, well, that's a vote loser. So they turn around and say, okay, so we've got to have exemptions. So the exemptions are all private housing. Okay, so the theory is they're going to sock it to rich guys who live in Parnell, so they're going to really nail them. But actually, those rich guys in Parnell are way smarter than the left, because they've already worked out to buy a big house in Parnell would be exempt. So it'll go up faster, not go up slower. So when they say, oh, it'll fix the housing market and everyone won't invest in housing anymore, it's all nonsense, because 3/4 of housing is actually exempt. It encourages people to go into housing, doesn't discourage them. And if you go and buy and sell a house now, and like lots of them, and you look like you are buying and selling houses with the intention of making a capital gain, you'll be subject to a capital gains tax already. And by the way, IRD are hiring people at Bill English's request. It's always his fault, so Bill English's request. And they are trawling through these returns, getting lots and lots of money from people who are doing just that, not paying their taxes. So that's the problem. Then they say, okay, we'll apply it to everything else. Well, then everything else is farms, businesses, orchards, all sorts of shares. Well, that is the productive sector. So then you get to a point where you say, okay, well, eventually long-term it raises some revenue for you, but then you say, well, okay, what ends up happening is people just don't want to pay it. So then they, instead of getting to a point where they have to pay capital gains, which they pay on realisation when you sell the asset, they don't sell. So they sit around forever not selling. And then they even do remarkable things like they'll give it to their kids. Right? So assuming you like your kids, which is not necessarily always the case, but assuming for a moment you like your kids, they'll give it to them so they don't pay it. So you've got to bring back in gift duty. And we got rid of gift duty, I think, in budget 2010, because it was raising us literally $1.8 million a year. And it was costing us $70 million a year to administer. So when all these things kind of look up front, look okay, and the arguments are put out there, they're just not that flash, which is funnily enough why the UK's been looking at getting rid of capital gains tax. And then the politics of getting rid of it is about as hard as the politics of getting it. So in a perfect world, if you're prepared to put on absolutely everything, no exceptions from the boat to the house, it works. But then you've also got to lower personal taxes and things, because that would be the right logical sequence of what you would do. And again, so you get into these arguments, and most of you in this room will probably know this. You'll see the Greens quite often these days running around saying, oh yeah, but the tax cuts National gave in budget 2010 favoured the rich and they got $2 billion for it. Well, it's not true. If you go and look at the overall total package, Treasury went and had a look at it and said, for 3 cohorts, 0 to 40,000, 40,000 to 85,000, 85,000 above, was virtually the same for everyone. We didn't lose money, we made money on it, very slightly, but we made money. So why is it distributionally neutral, even though you were dropping the top personal rate and other rates and lower income people were earning less? The answer is, it's true that if you were paying 38 or 39 cents, you're now at 33, and you earn enough income, you're getting a pretty good tax cut there. But high income earners own the properties for which we took $1 billion out of the property market, and they pay a lot more GST. They buy new cars, they go out and buy dinners, they spend money. And you add all of that up and see who's really paying that GST and who's really paying that property stuff. I'll tell you now, it's distributionally neutral. Slightly positive, but distributionally neutral.